In this video, I'm going to be talking about quoting for video production, how to get booked, and how to stay productive as a video producer. Here's the story. Quoting for video projects, I find, can be one of the most difficult parts about creating video content, especially when you're being paid by clients to create content for their business or organization. Now, disclaimer, in this video, I'm not going to be telling you how much to quote. I'm not going to be telling you how much you're worth. If you haven't already, you need to figure out how much you're worth, how much your half day rate is, how much your full day rate is, how much your hourly rate is, however it is that you want to bill yourself. You need to figure that out for yourself and then also be comfortable with that, knowing the skill level that you have and the equipment that you have to work with. With that out of the way, let's continue on with this video. And I think the big overarching theme of this video is don't waste time. Now, when I say don't waste time, this applies for a lot of things in regards to the whole quoting process to then start your video production process. So in the beginning, you get an inquiry, and this inquiry might come from either your website, which I strongly recommend that you have a place that lives on the internet, that has your portfolio, that has some examples of what you can actually do as a video producer, and then also has a contact form. So if someone likes what they see on your website, they can then quickly and easily contact you to then talk a little further about the project that they might be wanting to collaborate with you about. In addition to the website, I strongly recommend that you have social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, and in some industries, LinkedIn can be quite good as well. If you have a place on those platforms, even though you don't own those places, it does get you in front of a lot of eyeballs and potential clients. And then through these channels, you'll then get inquiries. And when you get those inquiries, my first tip is don't waste time. Get back to them as soon as possible. Don't see that you've got a DM. Don't see that you've got an email and think, oh, I'll get back to that later. Read that email or that DM as soon as possible, because we live in a world where people want everything today, or in some cases, yesterday, because of poor planning. And if you're able to get back to that person that's inquiring to you as quickly as possible, that will increase your chances of actually keeping that conversation going and then hopefully landing that project. For some reason, as creatives, we like to procrastinate, and that can be sometimes a real hindrance in being able to run a successful production company. Don't procrastinate, don't waste your time, don't delay things, get back to that person as quickly as possible. And I would strongly suggest don't allow more than one business day to go by without getting back to that person. It is understandable that we are busy people as video producers. We could be out on a shoot, we could be in the middle of a very long video edit, and we don't want to be disturbed by outside emails or anything like that to disrupt our creative flow. But it is extremely important to be responsive to inquiries, because otherwise that opportunity might slip through your hands. So when you're then getting back to that inquiry, I strongly recommend that you already have some sort of pricing structure in place. I use an app called Stickies, and that is an easy app to just have a whole bunch of different text that I can copy and paste into emails. And that includes things like my half day rate and my full day rate and what that includes. And then also my editing rate and what that includes as well. And then I'm able to send that through to the prospective client, and then they can then assess whether I am a good fit for the video production that they are wanting to produce. And one thing that I really do need to stress is every single person that inquires about your video production may not be a good fit for the type of clientele that you're wanting to work with. You may be someone that is focusing on low to mid-range production, but they're actually looking for someone that is in the real high-end production. And if we're honest with ourselves, we may not be able to deliver that super high-end production that they're looking for. We may be more comfortable with that lower to mid-range production level. And obviously, those projects come at a lower budget range. So if you're too expensive for someone, if you're too cheap for someone, and believe me, you can be too cheap for some certain clients, that is actually a thing. Don't be put off by the fact that you aren't landing every single client when you send through your rates or you send through a proposal. Remember, you're not wanting to waste your time and you're not wanting to waste a potential client's time as well, because even though you may not be a good fit for them, they could be someone that might refer you onto someone else in the future because they had a good experience with you when they were sending out an inquiry. One tip that I have heard in the past is if you are landing every single client that you are quoting for, you're probably charging not enough. So that might be a good indicator if you find that every single time you're quoting for a project and you're always landing those clients, to possibly put up your rate. And in the end, that ends up allowing you to create more money, have more profit, which will then help you invest more into either your lifestyle or your business. And it's a win-win for yourself, and hopefully it's also a win for your clients as well, because as you level up in your video production, they'll also level up in the content that is produced for them. And also when you're quoting for clients, there are a couple of different philosophies in how to quote. Some people do break down a little bit how much individual things cost, so pre-production, production, post-production, but some people do only give a one-off project fee as well. And I have found in the past that this can work well, and then it can also work a little bit against me as well. And what I've landed on is I kind of go between a mixture of both. For some projects where I get a decent brief and I have a very good understanding of what is required, and I can figure out exactly how many half days, full days, and the amount of time that I will need to invest into editing the project, I can be very confident in the amount that I quote to the client. And unless something extra pops up, like they pop an extra shoot date in or something like that, I can stand by the figure that I've sent off and said that this project will cost. However, if it is a project where the client isn't 100% sure on every little detail of the video project, for example, scheduling multiple people for, say, a 3-minute video that then ends up turning into a 5-minute video or a 6-minute video or a 10-minute video. If I feel like I'm working with a client where the goalpost might change, I do like to send through my half-day rate, my full-day rate, and then also an editing rate so they can figure out what their budget is and then what they can actually get within that budget. So if they have a $5,000 budget, they know that that will get X amount of half days, X amount of full days, and X amount of final edited minutes as well. And in my experience, that just saves any awkward moments they might have a little bit later in the process when they get the final invoice. And it's one thing to quote for a project, it's also another thing to invoice for the project. And I would suggest to just simplify this process as much as possible. Personally, I use QuickBooks for my invoicing and all my accounting, and my accountant has access to QuickBooks, and he's able to go through all the tax stuff that I really don't want to have to deal with. And I find that works really well for me as a sole trader in Australia that's also running a video production company. The last thing you want to be doing is doing custom invoice templates. I used to do that right at the beginning when I first started freelancing, and I found that there was a better way. And I did used to use FreshBooks, but now I've gone across to QuickBooks, and that is definitely something that I would encourage you to look into if you're not already using one of those services. So if you don't waste time, if you get back to that person that has sent through an inquiry as quickly as possible, you already have your rates set up and easy to just copy and paste into the email. This will save a lot of time and speed up that whole process of quoting for a project and then hopefully landing that project, producing it, finishing it, and having that invoice paid. Hopefully this video was helpful in some way, and if you have any tips, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I don't want to present myself as someone that knows everything about the whole quoting process. This video really is just me sharing some thoughts that I've had over the last few weeks when I've been going through this quoting process. And if you have anything to add to this conversation, I'd love you to leave a comment in the comment section below. And that's the video. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos on video production in the future.